Great leaders believe they work for their team. Average leaders believe their team works for them. There's a big difference between a boss and a leader. You can tell which is which, as one inspires fear, takes all the credit for successes, and heaps blame on others for failures, while the other generates enthusiasm, fixes problems, and shows everyone else how success is achieved. Welcome to Scaling for Success. We're all about helping businesses grow profitably, scale, and move to the next level. If you're looking for consultancy and mentorship that really makes a difference, subscribe to our channel or visit the Scaling Management Consultant Group website, links in the description below. In today's video, we're discussing how the global pandemic has changed leadership. The quick spread of COVID-19 across the face of the planet and the subsequent harsh conditions put in place by governments around the world in the form of mandatory isolations, restrictions on travel, and new rules for both social gatherings and businesses have really thrown a spanner in the works, to say the least. When your world is thrown upside down, though, you just find another way to get things done, adapt and overcome, or refuse to change and perish. Leaders from varying walks of life had to think of new ways to learn and work, to maintain normal life while reducing the risk and spread of infection. It's no small feat either. Just look at how the face in business and school has changed from face-to-face meetings in classrooms full of kids to home offices, Zoom meetings, and learning via 100% digital medium. The genie is now out of the bottle, and there's really no way the business community can go back to the way things were, even after the global pandemic has run its course. Certain questions have to be asked here. Are people really more productive in an office environment versus working from the comfort of their own homes? Is there a need to have everyone working full-time in an office? Or can at least half of all logged hours be done from home? But also, can the reduced overheads from not having to house these staff all under the same roof be used to offset the drop in business and profits as a result of COVID-19? The shift to remote working is something that the stereotypical boss of the old guard would have turned their nose up at. But this has been something that has seen increased momentum by more employee-serving leaders even before the viral outbreak. Companies with a more open and supportive work environment have arguably seen substantially more success than more traditional companies, where leaders focus on employee happiness and satisfaction primarily, as it directly translates to increased productivity. Those at the executive level are no longer corporate slaves, company men who sacrifice relationships with their spouses and family for the sake of their careers. This is the new age where family is everything. There are a few ways that the worst global pandemic in living memory has changed the face of leadership forever. Number 1. Fear is no longer a weapon. Leading with fear is now well and truly a relic from the past. In a world full of fear, full of people worrying about the health of loved ones, if their job is safe, and whether they'll have a home to go to, it's clear that the fear-based leadership still clung onto by the old guard is something truly archaic in the modern day. The businesses who have survived are those with true leadership, that realize that human beings often make mistakes, that external stresses often affect work performance, and that adapting to change is something that takes time, and not instantaneous. Companies whose leadership values servitude over integrity are now really feeling the pinch. On the other hand, companies who have leaders who put the well-being of their people first are finding that their employees are more willing to adopt huge changes, like working from home, or are just happier and more productive in general thanks to a less hostile work environment, a safe haven in an increasingly hostile world. Number 2. Learn to ask for advice. Throwing back to our example, a boss is someone who always knows best and who dictates terms to those under their leadership. There's this age-old question: do you ask for permission to do something or forgiveness after the fact? The truth is that there's a third and infinitely better option. Just ask for advice. The way forward is to inspire a company culture made up of autonomous teams that operate not according to company mandates, but through an advice-seeking process that does away with hard reporting and instead encourages employees to seek out experienced people to learn what they can about a particular project. The flip side is that while team autonomy comes with a certain level of freedom, it also comes with great responsibility. By seeking advice from many people, you experience different points of view so you can make a more informed decision, as well as having a broader overview of the impacts of that decision on the business as a whole. A two-way street between the leader and the team where advice is shared versus just giving orders increases the interpersonality of the team. Each person gains a better understanding of each team member's thought process and how to best utilize their skill sets. Number 3. Shared values over mission statements. In a similar vein, issuing mission statements plays into this element of control provided by fear-mongering. A rigid document that isn't relative to all situations is something that is quickly discarded by employees. The better alternative is to instead share values and guidelines on how those values fit into the business and into the way each employee conducts themselves. Difficult decisions that have to be made in reaction to changing events during the pandemic create fear in both leaders and employees when they have to resonate within the confined box of a mission statement. Shared values, on the other hand, inspire accountability due to their organic nature. When used as a deciding factor in the recruitment process, you ensure that all employees are on the same page and can actually come together in a time of crisis. They're a bit like bamboo in that they're a strong building material while still being flexible, where employees can be trusted to work from home, for instance, and use their autonomy to manage workloads and deliver quality. Number 4. Stop holding the reins. The day of the CEO or board of directors making all the decisions for a company are coming to an end. There's been a conscious shift, a movement to allow team leaders and senior staff further down the org chart to be actively involved in not only the decision-making process, but having the authority to make the judgment call on a certain issue without running it up the flagpole. The stereotypical old-school boss with the one-ship, one-captain mindset fears that without a decentralized decision-making process that ultimately requires their decision, the company will fall to pieces. This is far from the truth. As long as you've hired the right people that fit into the core values of the company, you should be able to trust them to make the right call and fix a problem much faster than escalating it up the chain of command. Extending this mentality out to customers, less and less clients are asking for the cookie-cutter solution and instead prefer a tailored solution that is bespoke to suit their particular needs. Tailored solutions don't work in a dictatorship. Number 5. Adapt to globalism. Just looking after your own backyard is such an old way of thinking. What happens around the world has either a direct or indirect effect on your business as a whole. We're living in a global community where changes on a global level lead to unforeseen domino effects. By looking outside your local talent pool, there's a good chance you'll find that diamond in the rough. Cross-disciplinary teams are productive teams, as the differing background of the team members only adds experience and outside-the-box thinking to solutions. By seeking the advice of regional offices in other countries or reaching out to overseas companies, better decisions can be made about how to move forward in relation to a pandemic-induced change to how your business operates. COVID-19 is something that has decimated some countries while remaining relatively in check in others. How other companies in foreign nations have managed their outbreaks while maintaining as much productivity as they can should be taken into consideration for how you move forward as a result of updated health advice. As we said, adapt and overcome, or refuse to change and perish. The global pandemic has all but forced the shift from the dictator-type boss calling all the shots and ruling through fear to a leader who puts their people first and isn't afraid to show their vulnerability by asking for advice and sharing the decision-making amongst their management team. That's all we have time for in today's video, Stepping into the Future of Leadership Development. Like this video if you found it helpful, and for more content just like this, subscribe to our channel or visit the Scaling Management Consultant Group website at scalinggrp.com.